And in Durango, we are live at Expert35. So I moved from New Mexico up to Durango. I'm your host, Gabriel Garcia. And as promised, we're going to have experts from 35 different industries talking about the challenges, the hardships, and the opportunities. And today we're going to talk about one of the most important things that's over our head. It's really our mental health, our ability to get back into it, to just regenerate. And I think you said it, Hallie, best: Control Alt Delete. You survived COVID, and you're going to now tell us how we can survive COVID. Thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure, and thanks for the invitation. What a pleasure, Gabriel.
No, Hallie, it's so good meeting you and seeing you again. I mean, I know I met you years ago, but just reconnecting and just knowing everything you've gone through, so incredible. And know you're a DO. Tell us a little bit what that means.
Thank you. DO is after a doctor's name instead of an MD. It's Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine, or also known as osteopath or osteopathy. Mm-hmm. It's the same 4 years of pre-med in college, then your MCATs, then medical school, then internship, residency, and only then can you become board certified in your chosen profession, from neurosurgery to dermatology. I'm a rehab doctor, physical medicine and rehabilitation, also known as physiatry, and hands-on healing.
Incredible. And so, such a treat to have you and just, be part of the show, because we're always talking about different challenges in different industries, but really the biggest industry is just our body, and our energy, and how we can just really, be reconnected, especially in this disconnected world, and everything's changing. So, so good having you on the show. Before we get started, guys, if you want to text Expert35 to the number on the screen, you can follow us live, you can get notifications, and we're also looking for people as amazing as Hallie to join us and be part of this conversation. If you want to learn more about what she's doing and her new path and her new direction, you can text Expert61. She is now Expert61 to the number on the screen. And Hallie, thank you so much. How did you get into this? I guess just tell us a little bit about your background and how this all came about.
Well, if you don't mind, Gabriel, flashing that beautiful photo that I sent you of me standing on a bridge. I am a bridge person. I realized early on that's me standing 2,600 feet above the desert floor in Moab. And I realized that I'm someone who helps people to bridge from their illness to well-being, and help them as the handfast and the bridge builder to help them find their way. So what I specialize in is not alphabet soup after my name. I specialize in listening, using my head, heart, and hands in order to help you find your ways and words to be well. That's my career in a nutshell.
That's incredible. I love the photo. I love the energy. We already have all these kind of questions. So normally we talk a little more, trying to get people getting in here, but Jennifer's got a great question. Since you survived COVID, are you less scared of it?
Jennifer, what a wonderful question. That's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out, along with the rest of the world, including particularly the rest of the healthcare providers like myself, who go in and take care of many people who are encountering or recovering from COVID. It is a real challenge. The best that we can understand so far is that it's a once and done type of immunity for most people. But then there are some people with lingering conditions or potential for re-exposure. Hopefully, I have gotten through it. I didn't have to go to the hospital, but I was quite ill for a couple of months. And because of my background, I was able to figure out some things with colleagues and friends to help me get through it and stay at home. I can't guarantee that for everyone, though. And surviving it, I do have a sense of still being careful and protective, as well as caring for others. So I'm still using a mask. I'm still washing my hands with soap and water for however many 20 seconds of a song. And I'm also still maintaining social distance, in part because I have family members who are elderly or immunocompromised or other conditions where I have to be careful that I'm not exposing them, even if I might be in some ways more protected. So a little less scared, still very conscious.
Yeah, and I guess that's our follow-up question is with the antibodies, are you like immune or do you feel like you're a little more protected?
Excellent question also. So the jury's still out. As I have also been taking care of for years of people who survived polio, people who have post polio for 15 or more years after they first had polio. Most people who had polio years before actually only had the summer flu or were asymptomatic and never knew that they were having a problem unless they became paralyzed. So that is in some chilling to me ways similar, and what I call post COVID syndrome is what none of us knows. We don't know if it's once and done like polio or more like the
Mm-hmm.
common cold, that it can be with a little bit of permutation and change of the viral um, entity that makes it possible for people to get exposed and re exposed in a way that viruses are amazingly able, along with other pathogens, to figure out a new assault on our bodies, a new way to get in there. Our job is to be as healthy as we can to protect and prevent further compromise, including further illness. I can't say that I won't get it again or someone else won't. I can only do my part to be the healthiest that I can be to hopefully not get it again or not have it as severe the next time if it does happen. We still don't know.
And what are some of the things that you did as you went through it? And tell us a little bit of the timeline too, because a lot of people think, oh, it's 2 weeks and it's just a flu, right? What are some of that experience like?
Well, first off, it's not a walk in the park. And everyone does have some variety and a whole range from a laundry list type of thing or a menu in
Mm-hmm.
terms of which categories. There's no question that there's some people who have pulmonary, some who have vascular, including heart attacks and strokes and other kinds of events that can happen even days to weeks after the initial
Wow.
return of some effect. So typically, people are finding that even the second to third week can be the most vulnerable. So everyone by now is all too familiar with the watchwords of low to high grade fever, of some dry cough that's not productive, of a feeling of exhaustion. A lot of people also, and I did also have problems with smell, which
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people takes a while to get back. Also, severe racking aches and pains that make it tough for you to feel like you can walk up or down a flight of stairs because bringing your knee to your chest or reaching to the floor can be really hurting because it's
Mm-hmm.
affecting deep core muscles and back muscles for a lot of people. So there are those standard symptoms and then any number of other things. So there also are neurologic symptoms that some people have that includes cold burning sensations in their legs. I had that also. So in March when I got this, I was one of the first 125,000 people in the US to actually be getting this. And the
Mm-hmm.
CDC and other epidemiologists and other people around the country and the world were all scrambling. What is this stuff? And so I was one of the people calling up to epidemiologists and others saying, we have to include these symptoms also. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
pulmonary. And so the evolution, Gabriel, Jennifer, everyone, of what we can really understand is still needing to be determined. Mass General and other doctor groups working to increase the knowledge base. Starting in March and April, we were all pooling information in order to come up with a better understanding of what is this COVID? What is
Right.
SARS coronavirus type 2 or COVID 2019, shorthanded to
Mm-hmm.
19, but it's anything but the 19th iteration. This is a novel coronavirus. And I do want to say that it is novel, meaning it's never before been encountered in this way. And hearing from virologists and having worked as mammologist, back in my training years, including with bats. Bats are incredibly able to wing around,
Hmm.
and so being able to keep going with all of that and living in close confines, that's one of the reasons why bats have been associated with a lot of viruses um, that are studied. And it's not
Wow.
just coronavirus in this particular thing. And that's why every scientist in the world, every healer, every prime person, including essential, if all of us are essential, all of us need to be really mindful and aware of the research and the questions that we still have to answer.
And so incredible that like at least you were of the conscious mind of being able to like help even as you were suffering, right? Like almost treating yourself as a petri dish a little bit and saying like, hey, this is important and this isn't, right?
So, to answer some of your questions, what I came up with in terms of self care from that
Hmm.
background, being
Oh, here,
informed.
actually, this is perfect. Greg's asking, what's your caring philosophy?
Well, we are on it, and that's the question that I wish people would ask me. And thank you, Greg. So, first off, one of the reasons that ventilators didn't need to be as much used is because doctors, going back to the Spanish flu era, a century ago, doctors figured out that percussion, meaning
Hmm.
pounding on someone's back when they're on their belly, things that people were changing in even this current situation in the ICU.
Hmm.
Having people on their belly instead of on their backs improves the ability for the air to get into the lungs. So that's one of the things that I found really helpful. And my colleagues, we were training each other 2008 and 9, and again now, how to take care of people, including medications, but also self-care techniques.
Hmm.
So to fit it with caring philosophy, and how to take care of yourself through COVID. Rest, fluids, all these other things, but also two of the exercises that I wanted to share with you, including moving your feet to get your lymphatics flowing again,
Hmm.
and being able to move your arm, things that you can do for yourself. That's part of my caring philosophy. How to move.
Now,
Yes, go
I've got
on.
a really interesting question, right? So if somebody is has symptoms and they're at the point that they have to go to a hospital, right? How can they, get the care that you're providing? Is that something that they have to like ask for and say, hey, I need an OD as well, and like they come, or like what's what's that process like?
And I've been
Hmm.
doing my own practice for years called integral rehabilitation. So I do a lot of work by telemedicine, including video calls, just like we'd be doing right now. So I'd be welcoming anyone in your community and our community who would want to reach out to me,
Hmm.
because there are any number of ways, any number of approaches that I can help people to address for their own sake, their own well being. So cytokine storm is a term that's thrown around a lot, trying to
Hmm.
improve your immune function. It means different things. If you have GI side effects or responses to COVID, you might need to do different things, probiotics or um, beta glucans or other things like that as nutritional agents. So there is a way to customize and improve your own health and well being. It doesn't necessarily require you to go to the hospital. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, you and I know that most doctors don't really know a whole lot about this, are still
Well, right,
questioning
it's all
what to
new,
do.
right? Right.
Yeah. So I'm available and definitely welcoming people who want to reach out to me so that I can help to bring this forward.
Interesting. And is some of that covered by insurance, or what's the process for that? Yep.
I'm currently a Medicare provider.
Hmm.
I am applying for some other insurances, but um, if you were to reach out to me as an example, it's according to where the patient is, that's where the doctors need to be licensed. So I'm licensed in any number of states,
Hmm.
um, including Idaho and Arizona, all the way to
All over.
Florida and Colorado, where you are now, in beautiful Durango.
Hmm.
So there are lots of ways that doctors like myself can be more available. And so insurance is something I'm out of network, but
Hmm.
depending on what your insurance is and how, if you reached out to me, then there are ways that telemedicine now is covered even by Medicare.
So important. And like, Jennifer's got a great follow-up questions like, at what point do we need to protect our mental health more? I feel like that's almost what this conversation is about.
How about now?
Yeah.
Starting with this breath. And
Hmm.
that's the whole thing, Jennifer, and everyone. The more that we can take care of ourselves from who and how we are now
Hmm.
is how we will take care of the rest of our lives. So our body, mind, and spirit are essential. So thank you for putting up this picture
Hmm.
of the sand dollar, which I found on a beautiful beach in New Zealand years ago. And this is the summary of what Greg was asking before, my caring philosophy. Health is more than just the absence of disease. It is a sense of well-being and renewal, the ability to be resilient, to be able to grow and change every day. So it's a limber body that helps us to move, a free spirit to breathe, a supple mind to relate not only to others but also within ourselves, and to truly enjoy our lives. That's my philosophy. So starting right now, Jennifer, and everyone else, please do.
That is such like great advice and like a philosophy. It's not even advice. It's just a way of being,
Yes.
right? And I mean, it's so interesting how we reconnected. It was just almost like I just reached out. I had no idea what you'd gone through, but I knew that it was time to talk to you. And it's almost like, just being present to which way energy is pulling you is important. And now you're about to embark in new journeys. You're helping so many people, right? And Jennifer, actually, this is my question too, Jennifer. So I love it. So how do we get unstuck? I got unstuck by just by listening to me, but sometimes it's hard to listen to you when there's all these other pressures and you're on this weird pause, right? Because of how the world is. So how do we get unstuck?
Yeah. So I think because of our technological times, very much in terms of the technologies. So first off, I appreciate your picking up on my phrase, control alt deleting ourselves, because we
Hmm.
have to do a total reframing and reset each and every moment, and that includes now. So
Hmm.
to get unstuck, first off, besides breathing, the two exercises that I wanted to share with people, if you can put up that first one, where all of us dealing so much, thank you. We're all of us dealing so much with all of the Mouser's hands and competitive stress injuries from all of the, like carpal tunnel syndrome, all of the times that we're having to shake out our hands just to be at a computer nowadays. So I just wanted to give everyone a sense of two things that I found really helpful, because self-care is how we can get unstuck. We don't need to rely on everyone else to do it for us. We have to know how to reach out to others to help them help us. So the
Hmm.
first off is, if you have someone at home who you can do this with, then you can hold at one end and up here, and it's sort of like holding on to a bike gear shift or a golf or tennis equipment, where you're twisting down or twisting up. If you have a second person, you can have them also holding down here, and it's really wringing out that washcloth of your forearm, because we have so many sinews and blood and nerve supply that goes to our hands. And so being able to have a way to release the tension is essential for, and shaking it out. So the first thing I just wanted to show people is just very gently clasp and twist around, and just go fist, stretch, wiggle, relax. While you relax, you twist a little bit more in that same direction, and then you don't let up the slack here. You twist while you're doing fist, stretch, wiggle, relax, take up the slack. So let's say I've done that the third time, then I'm going to release the grip and go the other direction. Same thing, fist, stretch, wiggle, relax 3 times, take up the slack while the person's relaxing or you're relaxing your hand. Do that 3 times, and then you can do a nice gentle thing, and you'll be amazed at how much that'll improve the blood flow and the sense of easing and releasing of tension. That's a great way to get unstuck right there.
That's great. Do you want to see the other one, the ABC?
Please, because
Or should he?
ABCZYX, one of the biggest things that we get stuck in is our minds in the same gerbil wheel thinking that we get caught up in. So being able to release the tensions in our bodies, laugh, take a breath, also helps if we are even in a situation like this, Gabriel, being able to do simple things, what I call ABCZYX Feet. So neuroplasticity is a big word for a great concept. Being able to release the tension and the stuck patterns in our minds helps us to recalibrate and reset ourselves physically, emotionally, spiritually as well. It's not one or the other. It's body, mind, spirit, or whatever you're calling spirit, soul, the ways that we connect within ourselves and to our higher powers. So being able to do ABCZYX Feet is a great way to recalibrate and reset. Even if you're sitting, as long as you're not doing this while your foot's on the gas pedal. But I've had,
Right.
from my own experience, I've done it even when in an MRI, because those are confined spaces where you're not supposed to move.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had my own health issues along with other people. You have to figure out how to keep going, even in your biggest challenges. So just like you'd be doing with your feet as the paintbrush or the sculpting tool, instead of just having a photograph of the letter, sketch it out. So moving your feet, A, B, C, D, etc. And if you prefer to do it just like faucets or sometimes on a sink, set so that you do them moving in the same direction and sometimes the opposite. Do whichever way you want. Okay? Keep it fun. Keep it really fun. So you're going to do A, B, C all the way to Z. We all know our alphabet. You don't need to worry about counting to 3 sets of 10 repetitions. Congrats, you know how to count. What have you learned in the way to make it easier for you the next time? That's what you and I have talked about before, Gabriel. So
Right.
being able to move, and when you get back to Z, relaxing, and then when you're ready, you can do ZYX all the way back to BCA, and that is helping your mind to recalibrate the body-mind connection that is
Mm-hmm.
essential for getting and staying unstuck. And
Well, and I'm
unstuck
gonna
is
I'm
not a
gonna
safe
add
word.
something to this because it's so interesting. I didn't realize what this slide was about until now. 'Cause we were just talking about so many other great things offline. But so with through my dyslexia, I actually had to like reconnect with my feet and my hands, and this is just so similar. It really like reconnected myself to allow me to just be more present when I'm reading, to to verbalize and be able to read. And I can now read things live. Like when I was younger, I couldn't, and so reading out loud was always a big struggle. And so it's all part. It's so connected, right? Your mind and your nerves and your body, and I think that's what you're doing, right? It's like you're just helping yourself reconnect, and it's so similar to what Melanie said last week about helping kids say, hey, look, kids need breaks because the way you learn and the way you reconnect isn't just by sitting there and like forcing yourself. It's by moving, and the kinetics and the different times will make it better. And I appreciate what you're doing so much. Like it's so great to have somebody with your background and not only your education, but you've actually like lived it firsthand, right? Jennifer's also got a question. Are there any lingering effects that you still feel from the 2 months that you were out?
Before I answer that great question, and
Mm-hmm.
thank you, Jennifer, again, just to say in terms of that ABCZYX, the ways
Mm-hmm.
that I do it with kids, being a mom also, the ability to connect through touch is one of the best ways that I've found to help education become more fun. And nowadays, as
Mm-hmm.
parents as well as teachers, we're all of us challenging ourselves to find new ways to make education vital and also meaningful. So being able to take that ABC, I can do that with spelling words.
Mm-hmm.
So doing drills to see who can do all their letters faster, right? Who can
Right.
not be as scrambled, and to say that they've done that. I can do that with math assignments and doing even equations. I mean, be creative, be functional, and be dynamic. So you can take the information for people who prefer, they can do a line of poetry or a line of scripture so that you can make it really vital according to what you find most meaningful. Now, lingering effects. I continue to work on my energy, my endurance, my stamina, also breath support, and just the aches and pains from immobility that all of us have been feeling requires us to find ways to get moving again and to feel good in our movement. Even if it's small, like ABCs, can be the biggest movements that you can get to next. Don't worry about the next, start with now. Lingering side effects, besides that, I've been incredibly fortunate. I don't have major issues, but one of the things that none of us knows is each of us has a health history. We don't know what's next. That's what I mean by post-COVID syndrome. We don't know, even if it's a child who is relatively impervious, they still, if they've been exposed to and have had the virus, we don't know what they're going to be having, or we're as adults going to have 20 years from now or longer. We have to simply take care of ourselves each and every day, starting now, to be the best and the healthiest we can be now and forever.
That's incredible. My favorite part of the show, and I know we didn't talk about this offline, but we always do a 3 things to do now. And I feel like you've already said them. Like, hey, start with breather, great. But just to like break out and start really living, if you were going to give advice to our listeners, what would you say are the 3 things we can take action with right now?
Love the lessons, let go what has lessened you. Don't keep on looking back on the things that linger. I'm not caught up in whether or not I'm going to have a problem tomorrow. I can only take care of today. That's 1. 2 is, what can I do now to not put things off, to be that bridge person? Thank you for putting up that image. That's my guiding life principle right there. Be the bridge person. Help people find their way. And in my life, I have to do the same, as I would suggest and advise anyone else. And the 3rd, enjoy, lighten up, and laugh.
Incredible. That's so true. Like, we have to laugh, right? We have to just let things be and like just be present to the love that's here. Hallie, so good having you on the show. I mean, I'm just like, I got goosebumps. I'm excited for like the next chapter in your life and thankful for all the things that you've brought into our lives today.
You're welcome, and thank you all.
Thank you so much, Hallie. Would love to have you back. Let it just follow your journey. And, again, if you want to follow her, you can text Expert61 and you'll get her contact info. You'll be able to figure out how to connect with her, especially through the COVID MD program, and just incredibly helpful to have today. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Be well.
All right, guys, that was Hallie. I'm going to leave her photo up because it's just so incredible. Later on in the week, we're going to talk about managing your finances. We're going to talk about insurance. We're going to talk about balance, and we're going to talk about just living again. So this is just a great start. I'm going to leave that. I don't know if I can find that quote again, but start with now and breathe now. Such a great journey. Thank you guys for joining us today. We'll see you guys later on this week.
We educate during difficult times. We collaborate at Expert35. This is for a better tomorrow and a better today. Let's come together and together we will find a way. You got questions, we got solutions. You got problems, we got resolutions. Visit Expert35.com. No need to worry, just remain calm. No more pain, no more sorrows. We provide solutions for a better tomorrow.